Ah! Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy HRD back with another video, and today is a video I've been wanting to make since 2015. That's right, everybody. I'm going to be reviewing the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So without further ado, let's do this! So, it's no surprise, I was introduced to Final Fantasy VII during the Super Smash Bros. Hype.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But in all seriousness, it was so exciting to see Cloud come into Smash Bros. Because that was the first time that the Final Fantasy VII universe would be introduced to a Nintendo console, like a big home Nintendo console like the Wii U during the time, even though we all know that the Wii U didn't really sell that well. And it was so hyped to see him because he looked like a cool character, to see Midgar as a stage, and it was really hype at the time. And you know, as a Smash Bros. Fan, joining from Brawl and having the 3DS version of Smash at the time, it was really cool to see the DLC characters coming out, and especially seeing Cloud as one of the DLC characters, which was really awesome and unexpected. And I also watched two other YouTubers at the time that helped me introduce myself to the Final Fantasy VII universe. First YouTuber was Maximilian Dude, shout out to him. Watched his reaction to the Cloud reveal in Smash Bros, and it was really awesome. You know, I watched his other videos on Final Fantasy VII Remake when that was being announced, and of course, myself getting into Smash Bros. If it wasn't for the homie Etika, man, rest in peace to Etika. If it wasn't for Etika, I don't know if I'll be into Smash Bros. This much. I don't even know if I'll be into Final Fantasy VII that much without him. So, rest in peace, my dude. You will be missed. But if it wasn't for those two channels, I wouldn't be introduced to the Final Fantasy VII universe, and I wouldn't even known about the remake. And during 2015 at the time, I learned of the remake, and it was so cool to see, and I was just so hyped about it, waiting so long for the remake to come out. And you know, 2015, 2016 were the best years, in my opinion, for waiting for the remake, because you know, I was introduced to Final Fantasy VII at the time. I played some of the original on the PS4 when it re-released. And overall, it was just really cool waiting for the remake. Even though it took forever for the remake to come out, it was still exciting waiting for it and seeing like that first trailer from PSX at the end of 2015. Now, the hype kind of died down around 2017, 2018 because, you know, we haven't heard almost nothing about the Final Fantasy VII Remake. But all hope returned in 2019 with the State of Play event from Sony that revealed another trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and of course, the E3 presentation showing a crap ton of Final Fantasy VII gameplay. If you can see the card on the top right, that's my reaction to the E3 event, and my hype resumed for Final Fantasy VII Remake once again. The hype kept rolling. We had the trailers coming out, seeing all the cool scenes that everyone was worried was going to be cut when the game was announced, like the Honeybee End. And we are at this point now. The game's out. And overall, I was really excited to pick up the game, man, and play through it, and it was just amazing. And man, it was just breathtaking at times, man. Now, anyways, now that I played through the Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm gonna show you guys what I thought about the game, and I'm gonna go into the next chapter of this review, which I'm gonna start positive, are the pros of Final Fantasy VII Remake. The pros. Where do I start with the pros? I'll tell you what I'll start with, and that's the gameplay you're seeing, and another shameless plug to a video on my channel. The gameplay you are seeing right now is the Chapter 3 side quests gameplay you're seeing right now, because I want to try to keep this review spoiler free as possible. I might go into little spoilers, so I'm only throwing a minor spoiler alert just in case, because I'm trying to keep this video as spoiler free as possible. And so the other gameplay, like Chapter 1 gameplay, that's on another card that you'll see right now. The demos live stream that I did, which basically covers Chapter 1, so I just decided to record some Chapter 3 gameplay. So, the pros and stuff. I'm not going to list all my pros I wrote down in particular order. Man, the first pro I wrote down is, this game is faithful to the original game. The Midgar section of Final Fantasy VII original. If you're playing the remake for like 95%, I would say, of the remake is basically just, you know, the original Midgar section with amazing graphics. Which leads me to the graphics. The graphics, I don't want to make like a graphics. I don't want this to be like a big part of the review, but the graphics in this game was absolutely amazing. The graphics look better than the Advent Children movie, and that's saying something, man. And the way that the game is so cinematic, it is... the cinematics are insane in this game, bro. Especially the Honeybee Inn. I'm not gonna talk about that specific scene. Just go play the game for yourself or watch a video of the Honeybee Inn, and you'll see how cinematic this game can get. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the story of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Again, as I said, it's basically the Midgar section, which was 10% of the original Final Fantasy VII, but the story, how they told the story in the remake is absolutely amazing. Like, I would say a good 95% of the story was absolutely awesome, my dudes. It was great. And then the characters in the story, of the story, you know, they make the story even better, especially the character development that you see throughout Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, of course, we all know the original characters like Cloud, Barret, Tifa, and then, you know, Avalanche, Aerith, Sephiroth, and, you know, all those characters like that, but the way how you see the characters develop with, like, the cutscene stuff, I mean, if you feel like you're there, in a way, with the characters, because, you know, it's more cinematic and stuff than the original PS1 game, and the way that they develop characters, you know, it makes you feel like all the characters are relatable, especially the 3 Avalanche people, like Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. Those characters were so awesome in this remake, because, they were generic characters in the original Final Fantasy VII, but in this game, oh my goodness, those characters are fantastic, especially Jessie. I mean, she went from this to this, like, how is that possible in this game? But man, just the character development throughout the game, and I can't wait to see the other characters develop, like the characters you'll see in the future, which I'm not gonna name all the characters, but I can't wait to see how those other characters develop, and how our characters we see in the first part of the remake, yes, this is the first part of the remake, will develop in the future. As for the gameplay of Final Fantasy VII Remake, the gameplay is awesome, man. The gameplay, when you're walking around Midgar and stuff like that, it's just really cool to see. And there's much life in Midgar, actually. There's a lot of life in Midgar. You see, like, I don't know if you guys see the gameplay on the side, like the dialogue on the side, you can see what, like, all the NPCs are talking about and stuff like that. There's so much life in Midgar. And, you know, you're just walking around the places like the Sector 7 slums as you see in the gameplay. And it's just absolutely awesome. It feels like you're actually there in Midgar. And as for the combat of the game, the combat is amazing, my dudes. Now, I know a lot of people were concerned about the combat because, you know, it's not turn-based like the original. But myself, I enjoy it. The combat could have been the best part of Final Fantasy VII Remake, actually. Like, the way how it's actiony and stuff. I know it's like Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts in a way with the staggering system, even though I've never played Kingdom Hearts 4, actually. But, the combat is so cool, and then the ATB bar, where it's like it's kind of like turn-based, actually, you know, with the commands, and issuing the commands, and then when you're switching characters from, like, Cloud, Barret, Tifa, I think, and Aerith, they're so drastically different in how they play, but it's so cool how you just seamlessly switches to a different character, and you can still kind of sort of control the other characters with the commands and stuff. The combat is awesome, my dudes. And I know I probably missed out other things and stuff of the combat, but I mean, just the combat system is so detailed and there's so much depth to it. And the materia system in the game is basically the original materia system in Final Fantasy VII. So I didn't put that as a pro in here, but you know, it's still cool that the materia system is a pro. And as for the combat stuff, the boss fights, this also connects with the cinematics thing I was explaining earlier. The boss fights are so cool, man. I remember one boss fight in particular. I don't remember what chapter it was, but that boss fight was absolutely amazing. Actually, I would say a good chunk of the boss fights were absolutely incredible. They were so good. It was a blast playing through. I mean, yeah, some of them kind of got challenging at times, but it was absolutely cool, like, playing through the boss. And when you defeat the bosses, it is so satisfying, my dudes. Now, one more thing I forgot to mention about the story is some of the new additions to the story. I know some of the new additions, most of them, I really liked all the new stuff that they added to it. So, you know, again, from, like, the minor things to, you know, more major things, like, more... Like, there was this one part of the story that was new, that was never in the original, and that was one of my favorite parts of the whole game. So, I really enjoyed most of the new additions in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I thought all those pros right there, I mean, that just made the game for me. Like, it's so incredible to play through it. Now, this game isn't perfect, you know, it's not a 10 out of 10, even though I wish it was a 10 out of 10. And this is gonna lead into Chapter 3 of my review, which is the cons of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this review, this game is not completely perfect. Some of the cons that I have listed for this game is that some of the pacing in the game can be very slow and boring at times. But again, it was kind of like that in the original, where it's kind of slow paced in some parts of the game, and it still remains in the remake how sometimes that the Final Fantasy VII Remake can get slow paced at the time. Another con that I put down, and I did put a question mark next to this con because I'm going through a second playthrough right now, or some of the side quests can be kind of boring. But again, I didn't do many or none of the side quests in my first playthrough, so I'm not going to mention this like a straight up con in here, but I'm going to put this in the con section, and it'll probably end up being a pro if all the side quests are good, as I am currently playing through, trying to get some more trophies and hopefully getting the Platinum Trophy in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So another design is that the level design, I know I just butchered all those words, but some of the level design is very generic sometimes. Like, you're getting from like a big hallway, it's like 700 meters, you're going from like this point to this point, and it can get very boring at times. You know, some of the monsters don't have much health and so sometimes the fighting does feel like a chore sometimes, especially when, you know, the enemies are dying real fast, and it's like you're trying to get from point A to point B, and you're kind of enjoying the story and stuff. So it can be really generic and kind of meh sometimes, you know, but it wasn't too much of a problem too. But I do see how people find some of the level design generic. Next point, this is kind of a controversial one of the cons, is the whispers or the mysterious cloaks. They kind of got repetitive to me sometimes, but I put it is understandable because, you know, what they're supposed to be doing in the story. I'm not going to mention what they're supposed to be doing in the story because I don't want to have major spoilers in there. But for me, sometimes the whispers got repetitive at times, but I do understand why the whispers were there because, you know, what they're supposed to be doing in the story. Speaking of the story, is the ending of the story. I'm not going to be talking about the ending of the story, and I don't even know if there's going to be videos of the ending because apparently Square Enix are taking down people who upload the ending to Final Fantasy VII Remake, so I'm not going to show none of the ending here. Just saying, I put this in the con. For me personally, I loved the ending, but I do see why people are upset about the ending, and I'm not going to be talking about it, of course. I've said this so many times in this review already because I'm trying to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. Maybe a few minor spoilers. I don't even know if I did that. That's why I put the warning up, just in case. I enjoyed the ending, but I do understand why people do not like the ending. And, you know, for me, it's very confusing at times. I know I was confused as crap what happened in the ending. And I can see why people are uncertain of the future of Final Fantasy VII Remake because we don't know. I'm not going to go into spoilers or anything, but just you'll see the ending. And, you know, when you play the game or watch a video on it, you'll see the ending and you'll know what I'm talking about. In conclusion of this review of Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm gonna give Final Fantasy VII Remake a score out of 10. I'm gonna give this game a 9 out of 10. Despite listing all the cons that I had with the game, the pros just went over the cons, man. I loved almost every minute of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I love this game, how it looks. I love the way it plays, and just the way they recreated it from the original, man. I just loved this game. And I would recommend all of you guys who have never played Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VII Remake to definitely pick up the remake right now and then play through the remake. And then after that, I'll also recommend picking up the original Final Fantasy VII if you're curious about what the story goes after Midgar and the original story. And that is my review of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video. This video has been 5 years in the making, and it kind of lined up perfectly with this video, you know, from the game coming out at this time to me getting my equipment to make this video in time, so everything just kind of lined up perfectly. If you guys enjoyed this review of Final Fantasy VII Remake, hit that like button, and if you're new to my channel, click that subscribe button and ring the bell to join the notification squad. Go follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you want to check out me streaming sometimes, go to my Twitch channel. And one more thing before I go, join the Galactic Empire, a Discord server made by myself and one of my homies, Agent Shields, dedicated to role-playing and stuff. Anyways, guys, peace